Atenção, as próximas sessões irão começar. Ocupem seus lugares.
Attention, the next sessions are about to begin. Please take your seats.
WCEF, where we're going to be talking about the role of buildings and the built environment in accelerating circularity. It's nice to meet you. I'm Diane Holdorf. I'm with the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. We're an organization of more than 250 companies who come together to work on the leading agenda of sustainability for business competitiveness, for business innovation, for business resilience, and for business success. It's been a lot of an opportunity to work together on why circularity matters so much for the built environment. I think if you're here, you probably know that buildings account for 40% of all emissions, all climate emissions, and that's over the course of the use of the history of a building, including its materials and the materials used to build it. But less than 10% of the materials used in buildings are captured and reused after the building's end of life. And that's what we have to work on, because those are the types of materials that are high emission intensity materials that are easily recycled when recaptured for use and can go on to have more use going forward. But without knowing what is in the building, how to measure that, and how to manage it, it's very difficult for the businesses in the building's value chain to know how to plan for that, both in the materials that they procure and in how they manage end-of-life material use. And that's where the role of standard business decision-making becomes so important. Being able to have the types of indicators and metrics that allow us to measure our use, know exactly what the content is, and then be able to manage it is exactly how businesses make good decisions. And that's what we've been working here together with leading companies to develop, is the circular transition indicators for buildings. Now, we've created circular transition indicators for other sectors as well. Doing it for buildings is challenging in a different way because of embedded carbon issues, because of long life of buildings, and because of the different markets in which they're located. But these transition indicators really help every company involved in that value chain know what the roadmap is that they need to plan for, understand what metrics they need to be looking for, how to set and fulfill targets through the decisions that they make with the circular transition indicators for business. Many of the companies who you'll hear from today were involved in the development of this, Arcadis and Arup helping to lead the charge, and over 25 other companies participating as well. And it's important to note that having circular transition indicators are just one aspect of good business decision-making when it comes to circularity. One of the things that we're doing between WBCSD and the United Nations Environment Programme's One Planet Network, together with over 70 other governments, partners, and companies, is developing the Global Circularity Protocol for Business. And these transition indicators become a critical metric to inform how we will drive better decision-making and increased circularity of the materials that we use. This type of work is what starts to make a difference in business decision-making, and we're really excited to be celebrating the launch of the Circular Transition Indicators for Buildings here today at the Global Conference this year. Again, they're a critical building block to the Global Circularity Protocol for Business, which will also be launching here in Brazil in November at COP30, because of the significant role that circularity plays in contributing to decarbonization, as well as improved materials use, which is, of course, the core focus that we have here today. So with that, I'm very excited to invite our moderator, who will then invite our speakers up. I'd like to invite Roberto Vac up to the stage to join me here. Many of you will know him. He's a board member of Marfrig, Wise Plásticos at Braskem, Institute Arapaio, WWF Brazil, and I know there's more, Roberto, but it's going to be great to have you here with us today leading the discussion. Thank you.
So, hi. Good morning. It's an enormous pleasure to be here with you now. Well, I hope you are all energized by Diane's challenges, and I'm sure we're gonna go through many of those challenges here and trying to find action plan and an action agenda for that. Well, basically, the built environment accounts for a significant share of global resources in GHG emissions, but also it's a sector with enormous potential for circular transformation. Circularity is increasingly good for business, and this is really important, and we heard about that in the opening session, with circular strategies offering real economic opportunities. Measuring and managing circular performance enable real progress and impact. So we definitely have a very interesting challenge ahead of us. In this session, we aim to inspire action, so action is the name of the game, by demonstrating how circular strategies create business value, reduce financial risks, and align with long-term sustainability strategies. We want to promote accountability, transparency, and value chain from the sector, and understand how measure and manage their circular performance across the life cycle of buildings can definitely change the way we deal with our natural resources in this planet. We all have a chance to ask questions for our speakers, so I will select the best questions from an APP, so Zoe will help me on that. And please remain connected through the IPP system. I think all of you already connected to that. I'd like to ask our panelists to join me here. So starting from Alice Monteiro. Alice is the head of corporate sustainability in Brazil from Arcadis, with over 14 years of experience. Please have a seat. So 14 years of experience in ESG, and she leads the global sustainability vision of Arcadis Brazil, leading in the integration of sustainable practices into business strategies across multiple sectors. Then Silvia Solano Quesada is a Green Building Program Regional Lead on IFC. Hi, Silvia. Nice to have you here. So Silvia serves as the regional lead for the Green and Resilient program in Latin America at the International Finance Corporation, which is, as you know, private sector arm of the World Bank Group. Bruno Pelli. Bruno is a global mining technical director of Vale. So hi, Bruno. So Vale is a global mining company, and Bruno is the global mining technical director responsible for brownfield exploration, geoscience, mining planning, mineral processing, and different operations as well. And finally is Elizabeth. Elizabeth She's a senior managing strategy and sustainability at Novelis. Elizabeth is the head of sustainability in Novelis South America, responsible for managing the sustainability agenda in the region and leading the company's sustainability agenda and analyzing and process planning and all that. So, let's start with Alice. Alice, our point here is tracking the loop. So, what measures the success of a circular built economy environment? So, how can you bring measure systems to measure success, basically, to different players in the built environment? So, can you bring some light on that? Thank you.
Oh, hello. Okay. Thank you, Roberto, for the introduction, and thank you. So, good morning. I am Alice Monteiro from Arcadis Brazil. I am head of corporate sustainability. So, I'm so glad to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity. It's a good question because we can connect directly with some questions. How to measure about the circularity, how to engage the value chain, for example, and how we can guarantee the circularity in the buildings. So for these three questions, we can connect with CTI for buildings, It's exactly the guidance that we are preparing in a partnership, Arcades, and the people that are here today. And we have some indicators that connect with the performance. So usually when we are talking about the circularity, the practice sometimes connect with general proceeds. The idea here is connect to indicators that can show us, for example, the performance. So I give here some 4 examples connect with indicators. So first, the circular inflow. How much of this material are reusing and into the buildings? The next indicators is exactly the circular outflow. So how many of this material can be, for example, reuse or recovery? The next example is about the modularity. So how much of this material could be used in a modular or different place? And longevity too. So how much this material can be during the process of the construction until the end. So the CTI for buildings, it's a guidance that connects with all the life cycle. Starting with designing, second, with the implementation, operation, until the demolition. So with this tool, with this guidance, we can connect with different stakeholders with value chain. At the same time, we can offer some indicators that allow us, for example, compare projects. So the idea of CTI building, it's exactly this. Offer something, trying to measure the performance from buildings, construction in general.
Thank you, Alice. I have another question for you. So how companies overcome barriers that hinder value chain collaboration for implementing circular economy?
Okay, thank you, Roberto. So I think the collaboration is the biggest challenge during a construction. So I will give here some 4 steps or 4 examples that can boost the circularity. First, about partnership, not just with supply chain, but, for example, with builders, designers, and users' end. Second, about traceability. So with traceability, we can recognize the origin of this material and how is the end of this material. And the third is about, for example, involve community. So this step is so important because we can understand exactly the context that the project will be built. And the last, policy. I think with this base, with some regulation, we can, of course, boost the circularity. So thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, what about to hear a bit on the financial and business perspective? So, Sylvia, how can circular strategies increase value to building developers and owners in the short and long term?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you and with this great group of experts. So definitely implementing circular economy strategies in the built environment will add competitiveness to the sector as a whole, but also to the companies that implement the circularity strategies. Just like setting the stage, according to the World Economic Forum, transitioning from a linear, extensive economy to a circular one will create an opportunity of about $4.5 trillion US. So this is a huge investment opportunity. It will also allow, circular economy allows the national economies as well as the sectors like the construction sector to become more resilient and less impacted by, for example, shortages in raw materials, critical raw materials, for example, or disruptions on value chains or for example, also increase in cost and tariffs or of the prices of the inputs. And furthermore, circular economy, when it is embedded in the construction sector, it also represents an opportunity to create jobs. According to the Circular Economy Gap report, it's about 1.6 million jobs that can be created if circular economy strategies are implemented in the building sector. So it's a huge opportunity to create more competitiveness in the sector and more opportunities. When we talk about like how it is seen in the built environment, and you already explained a lot about this, but basically driving sustainability will in the built environment through the reduce of the consumption of the resources, and also allowing regenerative of the ecosystems, of natural ecosystems. And how we do this on the built environment, in the building sector, and as you mentioned already, like using less materials, more sustainable materials, and also using new ways of recycling at the end of the life end of the buildings and of the materials that we are using. And very important to extend the lifespan of the buildings and the materials that we are using. How we implement this when we are designing, because what we are thinking when we use circularity economy concepts, it's to expand this lifespan of the buildings and reuse and recycle and retrofit. We can, for example, think of more adaptable and flexible spaces, think of modularity, think of designing and more flexible spaces related to, or that can be disassembled as well, or deconstructed, and not only demolished at the end of the building. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do, but also creating it will impact and provide more efficient use of resources, and therefore lower cost for construction. And these are part of the incentives that are there for the companies to apply for circular economy strategies.
Thank you. More specifically on IFC, how does IFC stimulate this process? Yeah. How it involves the building environment and building construction companies, all the players, to really go into a transition process?
Thank you. Yes. Well, IFC is the International Finance Corporation. It is the private arm of the World Bank Group, first of all. Like, it's the biggest development bank focused on emerging markets, and we create opportunities and financial mechanisms for emerging markets specifically. We have a variety of financial products and also advisory services to create markets and to also tailor our financial mechanisms to the needs of our clients and the projects that we are investing in and we are advising in. So we can, for example, provide different mechanisms, but for example, sustainability-linked loans mechanisms to companies that are applying these circular economy strategies. And we can also provide advisory, as I said, to these companies, to our clients, and also bring outreach to the market to create capacity building on the different sectors. We can provide and develop guidelines, for example, or platforms and tools. Actually, new guidelines related to how to find and how to evaluate new products and new business cases. For example, business models related to circular economy are coming out this week. And please stay tuned to IFC channels, and so you can be part of this new initiatives. And also we have on the built environment have developed tools for the building sector related, for example, to certifications. We have a certification that it's for the building sector that it's called EDGE, Excellence in Design for Greater Efficiencies. And it's a software that has been developed by IFC that promotes the efficiency in different indicators, at least 20% more efficient buildings than the baseline in specific indicators related to water, energy, and embodied carbon of materials. So we are including there some and promoting some strategies related to circular economy, like promoting the enhancement of existing buildings and also using products that can be that has these components. And I'm stopping here.
No, thank you very much, Silvia. Now, before we move to the question from the floor, I'd like to hear players from the operational field, from the financial to the operation, especially in the mining sector. So I'll ask the same question for both of you. So maybe, Bruno, you can start. The question is, what local and global dynamics, policy, infrastructure, market demands most influence your ability to implement circular practices? So the same question for you too.
Okay. Thank you, Roberto. And before cracking the question, I need to acknowledge that I'm super proud of being part of a so diverse panel, and I think congratulations to you for organizing and showing such a diversity. And for me, the closer we get to important topics for industries, the more diverse the panels become. So it's super important. Thank you for that. Now, cracking the question, and for us as Vale, we are the largest producers of iron ore worldwide, important players in copper, nickel, and we started our journey in construction with sand, with green cement, and also industrial use such as fertilizers. And for us, it's part of our journey in terms of circularity, and we debated a lot internally how to have a zero waste tailings operation. And part of that solution for us to address the points that Roberto mentioned was to really drive construction materials to be produced in the right way. The first point I'd like to tackle is policies and guidelines. This is something that's super important for us, and I'll give examples on each point I touch. We nowadays sell several circular products. We as Vale, 4% of our iron ore worldwide comes from circular means, either from waste dumps or former tailings dams, and we receive zero premium for that. There's no incentive. So if you want to move to be more circular, the first aspect, we need policies and guidelines to really stimulate premiums. Another example is our green cement business. We have been trying to put our green product into the market, and for our surprise, if we don't say that your cement comes from limestone, that generates a lot of CO2, we cannot call it cement. So it's a challenge, that we produce a product that's 60% lower carbon emissions for a building, and we need to add into the mix because we cannot sell it alone. That's the kind of challenge that we have, and we need to address as human beings. Another example is our sand business. As soon as we became one of the largest producers of sand in Brazil, now generating about 2 million tons of sand a year from tailings, we started facing a lot of opposition because a lot of people say you are displacing sand producers that don't even have a license several times and are very bad, harming the environment. So that's the kind of challenge that we need to address as societies. The second point I want to tackle is in terms of process design. We overall need to redesign our process to be circular and therefore generate buildings with lower CO2. If we don't produce and we just keep using our linear process that we just produce, transport, make something and dispose, we will never achieve our ambition, never. And that's where Vale, while designing a new process, we are generating byproducts for the construction business. This is a typical process circularity discussion. A lot of people, it's quite easy to think about product circularity. In iron ore, it's quite easy to think a fridge that's going out of your home and coming back to become a new steel product. But thinking about using the natural resources that we get in every single country to the maximum extent, in the best way possible, via process circularity, that's where we have a lot to do. And several times just keeping discussing the product circularity, that's super important. I'm not denying that. Actually, I do think the same. But we need to firstly be the most efficient companies possible in our process and generate the lowest carbon footprint possible for the buildings that we build. And the third point to finish, it's R&D and innovation. No? That's something that's a super challenge. And we need to invest much more as companies, as governments, as supporting bodies, into developing better process, better products for better uses to have greener buildings. That's something that we have been checking as a company. And one example, can we get high CO2 flows from industries like steel or cement and reconvert and recrystallize that into limestone? That's the kind of challenge that we have. And can we then supply this limestone to the construction of buildings, actually making buildings not carbon with some carbon, no? Can we make carbon negative buildings? That's the kind of challenge that we as industries we have and that we need to address. And that's something that I want to leave you with to think a bit about. And I tried to cover, Roberto, not sure if I did it right, but a bit on not just the problems that we face, but examples and solutions and where I think we need to work together. We will never deliver that if we don't work together. That's the critical piece for circularity. It's not the circularity of one company or one sector. It's how can we actually connect different companies, different sectors, different countries to build a different world.
Thank you, Bruno. So Elizabeth, what about Novelli's perspectives on that?
No, thank you, Bruno. I think you covered really well the external factors. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we are doing this as a company and how do we look to ourselves. In Novelli's case, to foster circularity, we basically treat the sustainability and the circularity as a business strategy. I don't know if everybody here knows Novellis, but we are the global leader in aluminum rolling and recycling. We work together with our customers to provide low carbon footprint aluminum to a lot of sectors, and this is including beverage packaging, automotive, aerospatial, and architectural applications and construction. For these segments, of course, we provide the aluminum that have high durability and formability that comes from the aluminum, but ours also have a low carbon footprint. Just so you know, the global average of aluminum footprint, according to BCG, is 16 tons of CO2 per ton of aluminum. Ours, because recycling takes 95% less electricity than primary aluminum, ours is only 2 compared to the 16. And this is considering scope 1, 2, and 3. And how do we do this? Going back to the question, is treating the sustainability as a business strategy. And I myself am an example of this. The strategy area is the same as the sustainability area in Novellis. We have invested over $1.2 billion in the last years in our complex in Pindamonhangaba. And we actually have in course an investment right now of 450 million reais to expand our recycling capacity to 750K tons. Another success factor that I would like to point, and it's all related to circularity, is the shared value through all the supply chain. We have 15 collection centers distributed through Brazil. And in these collection centers, we buy the aluminum scrap, almost post-consumer scrap. And fun fact for you guys, I don't know if you guys know, It takes only 60 days from choosing the can from the shelf, buy it, drink it, throw away, and it's gonna be collected and sent to Pindamonhangaba to return to all the process again to return to the shelf. So the can is a huge success factor of circularity in the industry, and the aluminum can go back to the can or to other applications in this case. At the opening ceremony, we heard a lot about the circularity index, that it's below 8%. We heard, I think, this twice. But we also heard that we are in a huge position, a great position here in Brazil because of the natural resources. And in the case of aluminum cans, the recycling rate is almost 100%. In Brazil. So I think we have a lot to share and a lot of good practices to foster the circularity here.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you all for the first round of questions. Now we have a few questions coming from the floor. I'll try to read here, but I think it will work. So let's see what's coming. So the idea, we will ask a question and you decide who can answer, and then you also can open for a debate. So the first question came from the floor. It's from Luciana Coentro. As investors, what are the circularity criteria that you are requiring from greenfield projects to incentivize circularity throughout the chain? You can decide.
Yeah, I can start. Actually, for our projects within Vale, the circular projects, the business case, actually they use the same discount rates. So what we are doing, we are pushing to find circular initiatives that have similar payback or better than linear initiatives. And that's where we broke a paradigm that nowadays our lowest cost operation within our company is a circular one. So several times in the question points to that, we think that to be circular, we need to actually get incentives or be less profitable, but potentially for Novelis as well, those businesses, several times they're even more profitable, and that's where we are landing our way of assessing those cases.
Thank you. Well, maybe one off.
Well, in case of Novelis, since we treat as a business, we have the same discount rate. We don't expect any incentive coming from low CO2. Of course, we want it to. We are actually evaluating another expansion, so it's a brownfield expansion, but it's part of the business. It's hard, and in my opinion, I think it's a little bit off topic because I'm from Novelis, but we shouldn't differentiate and treat the sustainability as an extra cost.
Okay, thank you. Silvia, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just to add a little bit of what we do, and I mentioned about this like financial products that we develop through IFC and mechanisms like sustainability linked loans, and what it does is basically incentivized by using, like having targets for the companies and achieving a specific target. So with circularity or with targets related to decarbonization, for example. And this way, the financial mechanisms incentivize to get these targets, and also like some rebates, for example, on the financing. So that's mechanisms also to incentivize through financing.
Great. Yeah, right, okay? Okay, so the next question comes from Marini Martinetti. Measuring circularity often involves trade-offs. How should we prioritize when circular goals compete with other sustainability targets like energy efficiency, reusing of materials, or even between circular goals, reusability and durability? So how can you surely see?
So when we focus in sustainability, I think we need to think in an integrated way. Of course, when we want to achieve some goals connect with energy, for example, we can try to connect with different projects and how these different projects can contribute for different indicators. So it's not about, for example, competition. It's the opposite, how each project can contribute in a general way with sustainability goals. So I think is a good point here.
I have a good example on that. Novelis has the target to reducing 10% our energy consumption. But we have expanded our recycling capacity over the years, and it takes energy. We kind of made it vertical. So it's much easier, in a sense, to buy already the recycled aluminum and put it in the process to provide the rolling material than to recycle everything. But since we are integrating, the energy consumption actually is higher when you are doing the recycling process rather than just buying the recycled aluminum to process. So in this case, we are not reaching the energy reduction, but it is better for the world to do this in a more efficient process to recycle the material. So these are targets that compete, but in the end of the day, I think you need to think what's better for the world as a whole.
Thank you. Please.
No, I would just like to add, because sometimes I think that what you said was really key on how we have to integrate. And when we look into the building sector, and sometimes for developers, including this kind of measures, like in the day-to-day basis, in design and process and construction, becomes sometimes difficult because it's too much information. So I think integration is key. Communication from the companies that are developing this kind of products is key, and make it easier for the developers and for the construction sector, provide tools, easier tools to understand what we are talking about when we are talking about circularity. So I think that's something important here.
Bruno, you want to add something?
Very, very quickly. The key one for us that we have seen that there is a bit of a conflict is quality of product. When you go more circular several times, your product quality is a bit lower. But then there is the incentive in terms of lower CO2 emissions and other benefits that offset that into the valuation of the case.
Thank you. So another question coming from the floor, Florian Guy, or Guy. How can local partnerships boost circularity measurement? And what are some practical ways to ensure cross-value chain data integration in circularity performance and measurement? You can start.
So when we start to do a circularity project, we need to connect to different stakeholders to make decisions. So CTI for buildings, for example, we try to connect the collaboration between designer, builders, users, and the community, for example. And with this discussion, planning the project is the best way trying to integrate, for example, materials and another practice. So I think when we integrate all these stakeholders, this project become more successful during all the life cycle. So I don't know if...
So you can complement that? You wanna? No, it's fine. So we have another question, so that's the last one. Sophie Adamson, sorry. How do you see customers' acceptance of circular solutions, buying using something used? How does it affect their willingness to pay?
Maybe I can start on this one. I think the key point here in terms of demand, the demand is there for the materials we produce. What we are not seeing is that there is a huge willingness to pay more. So I think going for circular supply, in our case of sand or green cement or fertilizers, what we are seeing is that the demand is there. It's super strong. We can place our products. But what has been the message, as long as you are not charging us a huge green premium, we are fine with it. For sure, our debate internally is how can we actually connect better different value chains, for sure, to have green premiums and incentivize the conversion of linear production into circular production. But this willingness to pay, at least in our sector, we are not seeing it so far. And it depends on the market. I need to be fair here, because decarbonization is happening in islands. No? So some islands are moving faster than others. In some islands, we get some premiums for our iron ore in a better fashion. For other regions, no. And I believe the same could happen for building materials, but in our case, we just supply building materials in Brazil, and where we don't see this willingness to pay more so far.
Yeah, Elizabeth?
No, I can say, in our case, since the aluminum can be infinitely recycled without losing the properties, sometimes the customer doesn't even know that it's recycled. So, of course, we would like to have a willingness to pay so we could foster circularity and make the recycled content higher, for example. We see this in other regions. So, Novelis is a global company. We have participation in other countries. We can see in other regions, but not in Brazil yet.
So, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I will just add that I think that this is also like how to change the mindset and you talk about it, and how this as it goes, it will develop like a faster way of including this in the costs. Sometimes, and from the developers construction site perspective, some of this just choosing between the products and products that have circular economy principles or not, it's not that easy. But sometimes it just doesn't represent a higher cost in the total cost of the building, construction of the building. But if you change the mindset, those codes are going to be more easily implemented and maybe not felt. And also something important, because we cannot continue saying like who comes first, incentives or the it has to be a balanced approach, an holistic approach, where we can help the sector to include this kind of products and this kind of mindset like in a day-to-day basis, so the costs are reduced and premiums can come either way.
Thank you. So you are making really my life very easy as a moderator, because it's so concise, so straightforward on the answers. And we have time for one more question. So I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry, but it's Kandranishi. Yeah? I hope it's okay. So for Alice, how do we encourage a collaboration with the government, and how to build the ecosystem of sustainability depends on your experience? How to build the ecosystem of sustainability depending on your experience?
Okay. Good question. So when we start to think about circular economy as a boost to local economy, I think is the best connection between government. So when the company has a compromise with targets connect with circularity, at the same time, public institution and government have the same compromise, thinking in an integrated way, I think is the best option in this case. So we can start, for example, focus in local project, engage the community, and with this project, it starts, for example, connect with economy, connect with the companies. So I think it's the best way to do this integration and, of course, achieve the results that we want.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to add something on this? No? So, once we are so connected to action, so urgency and all that, so I'd like to spend about a few minutes hearing from you what are your view on the action that must be implemented now on this whole process. So maybe we start with you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about how consumers are demanding more circular and sustainable products. I think this is good. It's an increasing process, but we need to demand more. This is from the side of the consumers. From the side of the companies, treating the sustainability not as something apart, but something that goes together with the business strategy. And finally, knowing the best way to dispose your products. Not only buy it, knowing that it's recyclable, but contribute with the circular economy.
Thank you. Bruno?
Yeah, from my side, I have two remarks. The first one, we all need to do what we can do with our own hands, the hands of our companies, no matter if it's at home or within our companies. And I do say that we need to redesign process worldwide. It can go from your boiler at home to doing a totally new circular mining business. That's our case. How can we all make that happen? And then it comes to the second point that for me it's all about collaboration. How can we do that together? Because we are very good as human beings to think in silos, no, in isolation. And we worldwide are seeing that several people tend to want us apart. But we need to be together. We need to connect different value chains, different companies, governance better, and create awareness in the consumer that unless we do this push together, we will never achieve the decarbonization targets that we set, not just for us, no, but for our children, for our grandchildren, for the future of mankind. So those are my remarks. Let's redesign process and let's work together.
Thank you.
So I will say embrace circular economy to drive sustainability, minimize waste, reduce environmental impact, but furthermore to create competitiveness in the construction sector, create jobs, and also to unlock economic opportunities for the sector.
Thank you.
Okay. And sometimes circularity, for us, it's something so far from our routine. So I think the first step is to simplify the subject and how we can, for example, connect with the people with the same language, something that sometimes is so technical. So I think with the CTI for buildings, we can exactly do this connection, transform something sometimes complex with something simple and connect with reality. At the same time, we can try to use more and more tools that allow us, for example, compare some project and about the performance, something connect exactly with each materials and practice we can integrate in this project, but with comparability, for example. And the last one, the action to plan, exactly how we can integrate different stakeholders to planning project and try to boost the circularity. So I think it's the 3 steps to boost this theme.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all of you. So I would like to go on the closing remarks, but especially thanking Zoe. Please, can you stand up? Maybe you can come here to say a few words. Zoe is the author of the CTI for Buildings Guide. And well, she's here with us today, so maybe you can say a few words about the guide. The CTI guide.
Yes, thank you all for being here today with us. It's an honor to be here with us, with the experts and Roberto and all of you. Today we're launching CTI for Buildings version 1. It's a guide that WBCSD created to measure and manage circular performance in the built environment. I encourage you to use it. I encourage you to read it. I encourage you to reflect on it. And of course, if you have any questions on that, if you want further collaboration with us, I'm always happy to answer questions, and I'm always happy to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you FIESP and WBSD and the panelists for such a nice event. Thank you.